All right. Wow, this feels so
out of place.
way low. Yeah, sorry, dude. Way low budget. Welcome back to another episode of the Pod Gods. My name is Jake Latourell. I do video editing, marketing for Edge Home Finance.
Brady Holland, Slinging Houses, eXp Realty, Tyler Miller team.
We got a very special guest, which sucks because we're in such a shitty location.
We're in a hotel room.
We're in a hotel room in LA. Finally, we made it here, but probably one of our biggest guests we've ever had. Honestly,
Yeah.
one of.
Yeah, for sure.
It is Mark. What's your last name?
Morgan.
Mark Morgan, the creator of the hit series Board Games.
Look at the hat.
Oh, yeah.
Are you bored?
Yeah, you bored right now?
Considering that a bunch of hookers just came through here.
Yeah,
No, I'm
we
good
don't
now.
talk about that.
Oh, sorry. My fault. Yes, that's true.
Sorry,
Signed
man,
an
you
NDA.
didn't hear that,
Oh,
Matty.
God damn it, yeah.
Yeah. Mark, thank you so much for... I guess we'll do the backstory. So, I've been following board games for a while now, and I'm like, wow, these guys are amazing. Shout out Kevin. He's
May you rest in peace.
the face of
Board games.
board games. And Mark, you do all the editing, filming, behind the scenes, the brains. But yeah, I've been following you guys on social media, and I'm like, these guys are awesome, so funny. I always, leave comments, follow, whatever. And lo and behold, you guys had a contest. I'm wearing the shirt right now. You buy some merch, and you get a chance to
Yeah. You could be here.
yeah,
You can be in this hotel room.
to come out to LA and be on the show, and I somehow won, and it's awesome. I really appreciate it.
I'm so glad you came out. Actually, here's what I remember. When you were a young son. What I remember very well was I got a message being like, "Man, this is awesome. How can I edit for you guys?"
Oh, that's right.
Very first comment.
Yes.
I have a pretty good memory of this stuff because if anybody ever messages anything on board games or leaves a comment, I'm the guy that you're actually talking to. Everyone thinks it's Kevin.
He's
Yeah.
quick to respond too.
I am ridiculous. In fact, so much so that my wife has threatened to leave me multiple times because I'm constantly just on that clicking away.
priorities.
Because you have to understand, when you're running a show and you're trying to get something up and you're doing your own branding and you're trying to really make something of it, people want to know that you're being listened to because you're
Right,
one of
yeah.
the earliest
Yep.
adopters. So I recognized that pretty early on, and I was like, well, of course I'm going to respond to you guys. And the fact that he wanted to be a part of it in some way other than just being a viewer, I was like, well, this guy's cool. I hope that one day we have a contest and you win it. But no, it worked out. You're here. We did
Yeah, it's awesome. It feels so surreal. I mean, coming out to LA is cool in general, but I've been able to see a couple old buddies and then just be on board games. The thing I watch every day,
Yeah.
like while I'm at work, if I'm ever, it feels like a dream, kind of.
It's like the new Wheel of
it's like a
Fortune
fever
for you.
dream.
It's
Yeah.
fever. Yeah, it's crazy. So
This whole
it's-
trip, honestly, has been a fever dream to you.
yeah, it's
Let's be
quick
honest.
and it's been cool though. Should we just start with your origin story?
So every time I hear that, I feel like I'm in a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
oh, we started on a different
Your
planet.
villain origin story. Just I don't know how you got to LA or
Yeah,
maybe
because
even
you grew up in Chicago.
Yeah.
Midwest.
So I did grow up in Chicago. I really fell in love with film and stuff like that, mostly in high school. I did stuff like that, even younger. But high school really is when it happened. I went to the University of Illinois in Champaign, downstate, which was awesome for 2 years. And I did mostly gen eds. Like I knew pretty early on I wanted to go into film out of respect for my family, honestly. I just didn't want them to feel like they were throwing all their money away to some
Right.
guy going to film school.
Sure.
So I did it for 2 years, and it was just the itch. I was like, I got to do this. And so I went to a guidance counselor. I was like, look, when am I going to be able to pick up a camera here? And they're like, you won't. We don't have that. And I was just doing so many film theory classes amongst other stuff. And I was just like, this isn't this isn't it. So I called my dad right out of that meeting, and he's like, let's go drive to LA. That's what he said.
Oh, wow.
So we a couple weeks later, seriously, it was right not too far before winter break. We drove out to LA. I checked out schools here, realized how much money it is.
Yeah.
As you probably, you've been here, you see how expensive things are. In and out itself has cost us like half of our salary.
thank you guys, by the way.
Yeah.
We'll talk
It's
about
delicious.
that later. But but yeah, so I went back to Chicago. There's a great film school called Columbia College.
Okay.
And so it's considered it's the biggest film school in the world in terms
Really?
of people, in terms of in terms of facilities too, if I'm not mistaken. So I went there, got a general film and video degree, but I did a lot of editing, and that actually helped me kind of get gigs because, you could say you want to direct and produce, and you can, but really, if you can do it yourself, which I know that's something you do,
Yeah.
you are now an asset to somebody. So
Yep.
you can, say like, oh, well, you can shoot, but you can edit too. Cool. So I started working in Chicago. I don't know how much detail of this shit you
No,
want.
That's fine.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, I saw you fall asleep. It's okay. So, Brady's out. But I started interning in Chicago, mostly commercial post houses. And then I started I worked for a company called Brella Productions. And then
What is it called?
Brella, Brella.
Okay.
They did everything from a lot of corporate, but they did some commercials and stuff like that. And I was mostly editing. They gave me freedom to do other stuff too, which was kind of cool. But I knew that I was going to have to do, if I wanted to do something big, I got to leave. My wife knew that too. So I got married, and then a year later we moved out to LA. And the first month I moved out here by myself, got an apartment for us just so we can kind of like settle in. And I just started all over again. Because
How long ago was this?
2012.
Okay. So a
So
little over
11
10 years ago.
No, well, I think I moved out in 2011. So yeah, I got married in 2010, 2011.
Wow.
Wow.
So it was September. It was Labor Day. And what's crazy is, and you think about, everybody who moves out here remembers how they first moved out and what it really took. I didn't know anybody. I didn't. I have one slightly distant second cousin who I really never met, and that was it. And so when I moved out here, I just made phone calls. I was just like, do you need an intern? I was 26. I had to kind of suck in the pride because I had already kind of done stuff.
Kind of starting over, it feels like.
And I was like, whatever. You got to do what you got to do. So I started a couple internships. I think I briefly mentioned this too, but one of them did not treat me very well, did not treat any of their interns very well. And then one of them was really good. And that one led me actually to the person who ran the internship program, said, hey, you can do stuff. I have it was like her brother-in-law had a small record label called Adamant Records, I believe. And that guy had a band out of Minneapolis called Sick of Sarah. It's an
that's
all-girl band. And they were many of them were in the LGBTQ community, and this is actually before like gay marriage was even a thing and all that stuff. So it was like they very much had a very tight-knit community, and they were pretty well known in that community, which is it was I didn't know of them until this moment.
Can I ask you real quick?
No.
You said yeah. You said the place you worked at was terrible. You didn't like it, and then the next place you worked at was awesome.
I was doing two internships at the same time.
Oh. What was so good about one compared to the other? Like, what was the big
Freedom to do what I can do.
Gotcha. Like
So,
creativity.
So the one that didn't treat me well was mostly run errands, and I'm not talking about like every intern should expect. I don't know what internships now. I bet you they're all paid and they're luxurious.
Times have changed.
But back when I was doing back
in the olden days.
44. No, it was different. It was like they would. So the one that I didn't like very much, I was out there 95% of the time getting like aspirin for people.
Yeah.
Or getting lunch and coffee orders and whatever. And then the time that I wasn't, I was either answering phones, which they were very weird sticklers about, which I was like, I'm just answering your phone. I mean, I did it. I did it properly. Hello, my name's Mark. This is, you've reached this. How can I help you? But it was very, anyway. It was
like your talents weren't being utilized.
I wasn't even learning anything. And then there was script coverage, which in a way is cool if you've never done LA script reading of any kind. I did it for a couple different places, so that was kind of a good place to do things when I wasn't running around. But I would get through like 10 pages of reading, and then I'd have to go off on another run. It was pretty dumb. But for anybody who doesn't know what script coverage is, what you're doing is you're reading script, and then you essentially are making almost like a mini essay synopsis of what it is that the script is, and then you usually give it some sort of grade or some sort of your own take. And I really enjoy that because you get to see scripts and understand what is actually if you're actually at a somewhat reputable
Like of movies?
production company. Yeah.
Oh, like the arcs of the story.
Sometimes you'll hear people be like, "Oh, I was a script reader for that script that eventually got made." But it's amazing how many scripts
cool.
don't get made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is
I'm
most.
sure.
And then, by the way, I might have read a script and I'm like, this is garbage. And it's weird.
AAA movie.
But that movie maybe never sees the light of day because I gave one bad review. And the production people might have been like, you know what?
Mark the Dream Killer.
Why would I waste my time when I have 10 more scripts that people say were good? It could go both ways. I don't know.
Did you ever any cool movies that you're like, yeah, this is
There was one movie.
Piece of cake.
like Top Gun Maverick? Shout out to board games.
That's funny. Yeah, definitely didn't see that one. Just bought that one off of a dollar store. No, there was one movie I forgot the title of it actually, but it was actually about guys who do graffiti. But it was like me personally. I know I'm like an old guy, old soul. I think graffiti's even when it's pretty. If it's doing something to deface property, I'm against it. But it was a kind of an interesting story about these guys who their aspiration was to get
A cool
spot.
Yeah.
And that was it was like a huge risk. And that was like the whole story. I thought it was kind of cool for me to hear about that. Like I never saw a movie like that. I'm a big fan of watching a movie that I've never seen before. And what's sad about, I'll tell you stuff about, I started TikTok on my own before board games. So I'll tell you about that in a second. But I can get on a soapbox and tell you how much I hate movies nowadays. Movies are crap. There are only a few, and even the ones that are really good, if you put them in like the 90s or late 80s, you'd be like, just another movie.
I have a whole lineup of questions now that you just unlocked.
Dude,
Okay.
we should have Devin on this.
Yes. Okay, so all right, best decade of movies.
What's for me? I mean, I grew up in the 90s. It wasn't the 90s.
90s, okay.
Yeah.
And then also like top 5 of your favorite movies.
Back to the Future.
No.
Jaws.
It's a good movie. Forrest Gump's my number 1.
It's a good movie.
Shawshank is somewhere up there.
Great movie.
It's a good movie.
Pulp Fiction's up there.
Another good
Gladiator's up there. I don't know if it's at least in the top 10.
Right. Like Fight Club?
Fight Club, I really like Fight Club.
Yeah.
American Beauty was on there for a long time.
Is that with
It's Kevin Spacey.
Yes.
I don't know where that sits now, but there's like, and then there's like, and by the way, that's like more in the drama. What About Bob? You ever seen that movie?
Oh, that's a
classic.
great movie.
Same with Groundhog Day. I was a big Bill Murray
Yeah.
fan. I mean, Ghostbusters I grew up watching.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Sandlot's up there for me.
Oh,
Nostalgia.
I mean, these are all things that
So
that
cathartic.
meant so much to me growing up, and it's probably one of the reasons that I ended up here. Like, I love that kind
Yeah.
of storytelling where it actually, what I've described to people in the movies that I have written and want to make, I want movies to become what the 90s represented, which was kids can watch this thing, and it may be a little edgy for kids, but as an adult, you're kind of like laughing along too. But like a kid can, you both can watch it at the same time and both get something out of it.
yeah.
I miss that,
Yeah.
and I can watch The Sandlot now. And
Pixar. I don't know.
Oh, by the way, animation, that is the number one thing that has not gotten worse. That has been amazing.
Yeah, they've been crushing.
Inside and Out, like Inside
Inside
Out.
Out,
That was like a Soul was like made me cry.
What was the one?
I never saw that one, but I've heard.
What's the one? The kid for Day of the Dead. What's it?
Coco.
Coco.
That's a great
Coco.
movie.
Love Coco. I mean, again, it's just
Migration.
but there's so much thought that's put into those movies where, as an adult you can get something out of it, a kid gets some out of it, and like one of my favorite movies, especially holiday time. Have you ever seen the movie called The Family Man?
I
No.
have not. No.
This is.
Who's in it?
We have homework, guys, and it's not an elf movie. It's
I don't wanna see it then.
Nicolas Cage. Yeah, scrap it. Nicolas Cage plays a very, very wealthy man who he at the beginning of the movie they show him and Tia Leone, and they are at the airport, and he says, "I gotta go do this internship," and she says, "Don't go. If you leave, I have a feeling this is not going to work out between us." And he's like, "No, I got to go."
Sounds like a Hallmark movie, kind of.
But it is so much better.
Yeah.
I cannot stand Hallmark movies, actually.
Yeah.
Well, at least most of them, anyway. But yes, watch that movie, The Family Man. It's
Okay.
a really good holiday movie, but it's also just like it's just a feel good.
When did it come out?
98, maybe.
Okay, all right.
Maybe 99, 2000. Yeah, something like that.
So long story short is if you like The Sandlot, you like Ghostbusters, someday you could be on the Pod Gods, is what you're saying.
Yeah, you have to
Bring it all together.
and you have to go into a weird hotel room.
Yeah.
Those are the only two things you have to do.
Yeah.
You just got to start renting out hotel rooms in Minnesota.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to do this more.
That'd be hilarious.
That's just our thing.
You can get sponsorship.
So you were talking about how you did, was it script coverage? Script?
Yeah.
So you've seen a lot of scripts. Do you feel like these days everything's kind of the same? Like a hodgepodge, like the same story arc, everything is like a copy
like-
of a copy of a copy.
I think what it is, we're talking about the high level. I'm not talking about independent
Yes,
film. I'm
not
talking about
indie.
I'm talking about Hollywood movies. And it's crazy. We're here, but whenever I watch the Oscars, I couldn't feel further away.
Yeah.
When I used to watch the Oscars, I used to be like, man, that could be me. That could be my friends. That could be like whatever. And as I watch now, it's like I can't relate because it's money. It's all money. And I mean, it always kind of was, but it's different. Like, have you ever seen a great series on Netflix called The Movies That Made Us?
No.
Someone's got homework, boys.
The movies that made us?
Outer
Watch
Banks.
it.
I mean,
Watch this. The Movies
The
That Made
Office.
Us. No. It's on, do you have Netflix?
I do.
Okay. Go to his house.
Yeah.
Slumber
The
Party.
Movies That Made Us. It's just a series they do behind the scenes of how these movies got made. And some of your most iconic, from Halloween to RoboCop. It's just like interesting stuff. But what's cool about it, you really understand what it took. Like Ghostbusters, the greatest thing. They said it was something really simple. Ivan Reitman and I think it was Ivan who was the main guy who made this happen. But he had a good relationship with one of the execs.
Okay.
And they made Stripes together, which was our movie
Oh,
with
yeah. Wow.
Bill Murray
Yeah.
and Harold Ramis. So anyway, he goes up and he's like, I want to do this movie with Dan Aykroyd, who's from SNL, and it's about ghosts, which Dan Aykroyd's family actually worked in some sort of like ghost-related business.
What?
That
Yes.
sounds like a Dan Aykroyd thing for
It's
some
crazy.
reason.
It's a crazy story.
Checks
But
out.
anyway, they go up to the executive. They hand him the script. He holds it up, and they're like, "How much do you want to make this for?" And he said, Ivan Reitman or Harold Ramis said the number. He's like, "Okay." That was it.
What was the budget? Do you know?
It was I forget, like 30, 20, 25 million. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But it was just one of those things where you have the relationship, they shook the thing, that was it. Home Alone could never have been made today. And I think about that all the time because that movie,
Such a good
it was
movie.
it's one of my favorite. And the thing is, if you really think about, it's about this kid who, does all this, makes all these booby traps and captures these bad guys. Unless you have a name, unless it's a sequel or whatever, like that movie would never be made. And at the time,
Well, they didn't have. Imagine happen that now. Like people have cell phones. They just text their "Hey mom, I'm still at home."
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? It's-
That's
yeah.
true. That's true. But I mean, it's
But yeah, I
still
know what you mean.
the idea. Yeah, that's true though. But it is the idea that like you make a small movie and you make it something big. I feel like nowadays, if they make small movies, they make them intentionally like shitty small, and I can't.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, like, trying to think of a movie that I recently saw. Like, okay, I'll give you an example. That it was actually a good movie, but it wasn't a great movie, and yet it won Best Picture. Was Moonlight? Remember Moonlight?
I never saw it. I do remember.
Okay, it was
Moonlight,
good characters. It had some meaning behind it. Obviously, it won Best Picture, but it was just a like. I'm surprised that movie won Best Picture. You cannot compare that to Schindler's List. Like,
Right.
they're just not in the same ballpark, and I just can't.
Don't you think there's some like favoritism and behind the scenes money being handed off and
There was, I mean, there are stories of it. I think it's more. I think it's just. It's what's hot a lot of times, but it's
Yeah.
not even that though. I really think that we just don't have choices, good ones. One of my most hated movies of the last decade or so was The Shape of Water, and some people love that movie. I hate
is
it.
that about the?
It's like it's a monster. It's a
okay,
monster
never
that makes love to a woman in the movie. I couldn't even get behind it. It was so bad.
Sounds so wild. Was
Well,
it
no.
animated?
No, it was live action. It was
The Shape of Water. You heard of it?
Nope.
No.
Wow, that one Best Picture, guys.
Yeah.
Like
Well, that's
2016.
that's
I
kind of
feel like that's your point.
Yeah, it's
That's
like
what I'm saying.
the stuff that's up for nominations. It's like
This year, though, if Oppenheimer doesn't win, I'll be shocked.
Yeah.
It was
I never saw it.
Great movie.
Was it? Did you see it?
I really liked it. I mean, Christopher Nolan, besides making very long movies, he does know how to make them, and I thought that was a good movie.
He did Interstellar, right?
Yes.
I thought that
And
movie
that was really good, too.
insane, Yeah.
What's so we asked this, we had another kind of director on, we asked this kind of similar question, like when you're watching movies, are you watching it like from a director's point of view, or are you watching it from like me and Jake, some two bums watching a movie, you know what I mean?
Hold on.
No.
Okay.
No, give Jake a little
I'm a
credit.
bum. You're a hobo.
Yeah.
He's got a cool hat.
I'm in a shelter.
You
Yeah,
did
and
have a cool hat today.
Let me think.
Shout out board games.
I would say I usually watch it as just a regular viewer. You're supposed to.
Right.
If you're just a viewer, you're just supposed to be immersed and enjoy it. But once in a while, I'll notice something really cool, and I'll be like, how do they do it? Or like,
I gotta try that or something.
That was a genius thought. Like, oh, okay. I mean, I'm trying to think
Like
of something
Jaws, or like even Star Wars. Like some of the scenes from Star Wars are like, geez, how like
if
back
you
in
watch
the day.
Star Wars now, there's some really amazing. Like they did stop motion. They did a lot of cool things. I was like, that was pretty remarkable for back then.
For like the 60s or whatever, like
70s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was very much, absolutely.
Dude, not the picture frame.
That's how board games is treated around here.
Yeah, sorry.
Get in a hotel room, knock down the
Yeah.
picture. Sorry, Kevin. May you rest in peace.
Yeah.
But
Gone but not forgotten.
but I would just say that if you watch Oppenheimer, you'll see they do amazing. There's this one scene in particular. I don't want to give spoilers, but basically, there's a scene where it seems like, I mean, you know the story of World War II.
I heard there's a
and
bomb.
There's a bomb. But after this
No
bomb
spoilers.
is dropped, and there are a bunch of people who are, he has like a press conference, and everybody's like super happy and elated, but all he could see is and all he can see and hear is the destruction that he made. And you'll see visually how they do it. I thought that was like a very cool way of interpreting
I've
it.
seen like the sneak peeks on like social media where it's just a pause of silence or something when it goes out something, and it was just like, oof.
That's another thing. So Nolan's really good about making sure. I mean, very similar to Kubrick. If you ever watched 2001: Space
Yeah.
Odyssey, so I think in the same vein, that is something that Christopher Nolan does really well. Is that he actually knows and remembers and did homework on the science behind what really happens. Because when the bomb was dropped, you couldn't hear it or feel it or anything. You saw, but you couldn't experience because it was so far away. Mm-hmm. There was a delay. It was, I mean, in real life. So he did a really good job portraying that. There's a lot of cool things. I always wanted to know how the atom bomb was tested. I was always curious about that. I was like, how do you test something that's going to destroy a bunch of people?
Underwater, right?
No, this one was not. This was in the middle of New Mexico, I believe.
Oh, wow.
So it was just like a bomb drops and with radioactivity, right? And like I always thought about like can you not like walk there anymore?
I still think that.
Well, it's like
Yeah.
even like what's the thing in Russia like?
You're Chernobyl.
Yeah.
Did you ever see that series?
I did. Yeah.
I've heard like
It was good.
One of the best series I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
Really good. Sorry.
It's sad, but
that's yeah.
kind of off topic, but similar vein. Video games guy at all?
When
There's a lot of, like, cinematography
when I grew up, I loved video games.
What was?
I owned a Super Nintendo since when I was 6
Yep.
or 7.
We went to Super Nintendo World yesterday.
Oh,
No big
did you?
deal.
Yeah, Mario
Did you?
Land.
That's cool. That's the only thing I'll let my kids play once a week or whatever it is because
Like the old school Super Nintendo?
old school. I still
Side-scroller?
have it. Yeah. I just
It's great.
I just never got into the later stuff, even though again graphics are amazing now.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, there's so much out there that's remarkable. But and by the way, I've always thought like maybe that could be something I can get into. But they're coming.
Yeah, they found us.
They know we killed
They
them.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was just saying that video games are awesome, and I think that people who want to get into it, it's very much like saying I'm going to get into AI. It's just a new platform of storytelling, which I think is amazing. I'm a little old school. I still think that filmmaking in its core is a director and people and acting. Mm-hmm. And obviously there is voice acting and body acting in video games and stuff like that too, but there's just something about telling a story that me personally I can relate to. Like when they started bringing out all this stuff for Meta, with Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, and I can't.
It's like, it's just another thing. Like, I
Yeah.
already have all this stuff on my plate. I can't do another thing. Like, when they come out with, like, TikTok, even when TikTok came out, I'm like, I can't even sign up for it. It's just another thing I have to, like, now compartmentalize and think about now. It's, I can't. I don't know.
This is a good segue if you want me to take it.
Do it.
On this. So,
Jump.
So I thought when TikTok came out, I was like, I was doing YouTube, like, spoof music videos
Yep.
and whatever else. When TikTok came out, I was like, this is for young kids.
Was this like TikTok or Musically?
No, well, I did Musically for a hot minute, but just to test it.
Yeah.
Really didn't get too into it. But at that exact same time, when Musically did come out, which was, I don't know, 2016?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
that, yeah.
I know that it was
Because
around that time.
Vine
Oh,
disappeared.
yeah.
I never got into Vine. I wish I did because that
Vine
is
was
the
funny.
TikTok. Yeah, it was awesome. But so backstory to why I'm even here today. Kevin and I used to work together when I moved out here after doing my internships. I worked at a place called Playboy.
Ever heard of it?
Hey.
Hey,
Future
Sex.
sponsor?
I think they're pretty
We
much.
know
the
you're
fun.
watching.
But yeah, so
Dude,
Sorry.
birth control.
Birth control. Fuck. All right. Playboy.
I don't know if he's being serious about the birth control. But I was saying, all right.
2023.
Kevin and I met in 2012-ish. I was working at Playboy, working on a completely different show than he was. He was a radio show host. And he was... I did not know anything about him. One day somebody asked me to edit. They just started making his radio show on Sirius XM. It was for Playboy Radio into a television broadcast as well. It was a simulcast, radio and TV at the same time. And somebody handed me a clip. And they're like, hey, I was just editing at that point because that's how I got in there. They were like, hey, can you just edit this thing? They asked me to edit this clip, and I remember I looked at Kevin. I was laughing, and I looked at like the producer of the show that they were doing at the time. I was like, "This guy's really good. Who is he?" And the producer goes, "He knows he's good." That's what he said about Kevin.
Is it just the quick wit and his just timing
I
and
just
he's just
knew.
on?
Look, I've been around a lot of actors. I've been around a lot of hosts. So even before Hollywood, I just met people, and I was just like, you could tell. This guy was so quick, and I remember thinking, this guy, he's got something.
Yeah.
And then I'm not trying to toot the horn. I just knew that if I could like work with this guy, maybe I can help this guy out even. Because the one thing that Kevin, he'll self-admit, he'll tell you is like he's great exactly what he does. He's a host.
Mm-hmm.
But to bring it to the next level, making something for TV or whatever, he needed help in the production side of it. So he picks on me like an older brother all the time. But and be honest, like, we work very well together. So what ended up happening was that show started going, and he came up to me one time, and he saw that I was like helping out. All of a sudden, I started getting recruited to make motion graphic intros for whatever game they were playing on that show. And so he enjoyed that. And he's like, you know how to do production stuff. I was like, yeah. He's like, I got this TV show idea. It's about commercials. Can we do like a sizzle? I was like, we could do a whole episode. We can do whatever you want. So one day we just went inside the Playboy Radio offices. We dialed it up. We shot a whole pilot. I edited the thing, and then he took that out with his manager to try to get sold. It never did get
Dorky
sold.
question, real quick. Sorry. How long did it take you to edit an episode?
Well, it was a really long thing.
That is pretty dorky.
It was pretty. It was
I don't know any other.
But at the time, it was all green screen.
Okay.
It was all green screen, and it was. You've ever seen Talk Soup?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Or
That's
any of
like
those
a-
clip shows?
Yep.
Tosh
It was
0.0.
Tosh 0.0. It was very similar, built like that.
Got it.
Lots
okay.
of clips, lots of green screen, lots of bits. So I was editing all that. Probably took a couple weeks to like finalize it to where we wanted to. I mean, like, I'm not talking about like nonstop because I was
Right,
working.
of course.
I was working, but working evenings and stuff like that. Yeah, maybe a couple weeks until it was like where it needed to be. And it turned out to be like an 8-minute sizzle.
Yeah.
Or episode, whatever it was. But anyway, it proved that like me and Kevin working together was actually a really positive thing. So flash forward a little bit. So I'm now Kevin kind of had a little trust in me, which is cool. And he started bringing me into the meetings of that show. And then I started pitching ideas in the meetings of just like, wow, why don't you just do this? I think Kevin was very happy that somebody was coming up with ideas other than him because he's the creative force behind anything that Kevin does. He is the creative force.
Yeah.
But I was like, well, we could do this. We could do this funny bit, or we can move the camera differently, whatever the case is. So I started becoming a segment producer. I started writing for them and giving bits and ideas. And then there were a bunch of producers that were, it was like literally a revolving door. And then Kevin asked our supervisor, Steve, who's a very goofy guy. He was like, Steve, you should make Mark the producer. And then at the time, I think I was the youngest producer of Playboy Television. So I got the gig. I don't know, 26, 27. I don't know what I was, but I was young. And I took on the show, and it was like their number one show, which was awesome. I was very proud of it. It was extremely stressful. It was it was live. It was live, and that's why Kevin. When we met these guys, Kevin used to bring me into the studio to just rip on me, like, because what would happen is
just a segment.
Let me just tell you. So here's the deal: we'd have models. A lot of times they didn't have clothing or missing clothing or partially clothed.
It's Playboy.
But then we had celebrities almost every day, comedians, actors, everybody. And so I'm back talking to Snoop, getting him ready to come on the show. I got models, and people used to be like, "Oh my God, your wife's let you." I'd be like, "This is how it went."
Yeah.
Mary, you're going to be standing there. Dorothy Ann, you're going to be standing there. When Snoop comes in, you're going to do this, and then you're going to play this game with him. It was business.
So flirty.
It was, yeah, exactly. And then we had sex. But before that, though, that's how it was. And it was just, Kevin and I got good rapport during that time. And the one thing I always told Kevin, this is the truth, till this day, I always felt this way. I said, Kevin, I want it to be like, you ever seen Good Will Hunting? Please.
Oh, yes.
That's all I know about my favorite movies. I said, Kevin, one day I want to come to this office, and I want you to be gone. And not in a bad way. I want you to go and do bigger things. Because the one thing that was tough about Playboy, and the big producers, the head of production used to ask me all the time, what do you want from this show? Like, what do you want it to do? I was like, I don't want it to be on Playboy TV. I want this to be on billboards. We can go to bikinis, and this can be on MTV. You should license this out right now. And I was like, this should be way bigger, because the show was awesome. It was like I look back at it in retrospect. It's embarrassing sometimes, because like Playboy has different things, different people's
reputation,
minds, especially when it was like while the company was still very big,
right?
Yeah.
And so it was polarizing, but it was a great show, and Kevin was great, and I thought, as a team, my whole team was amazing. But what ended up happening was, it was like they didn't, no one took care of it.
They didn't grow with the times.
No, they just didn't grow. Our budget was like board games. Like, the whole idea was that we had no budget. And you would think Playboy, oh my God, they've put a little bit of money into the studio, but like, we paid models nothing. They had some. It wasn't what it should be for a big name, big branded show. So anyway, Kevin and I worked together until about 2015. He got a gig in San Francisco, became a radio show host there, mainstream radio. I was really proud of him. It was tough on me, because I was still with the morning show at Playboy, and we ended up getting different hosts. We ended up with a guy that named Dan Cummins. I don't know if you ever heard of him.
I've heard of that name.
He's a comedian.
Okay.
But the show went to the point where I just got tired and I left. I started doing entrepreneurial stuff on my own. Kevin and I still talked over the years, and whenever he was in town, we still talked about doing shows together. Because our motto was always like, we have to keep going and do stuff together, and we would always. We would just do pitches for production companies. And this happened all the time. I'm bringing this full circle.
You're good? No, you're fine.
Stop yelling at me. So what happened
Hurry the fuck up.
Yeah.
Jesus fuck,
Jeez.
dude.
Yeah, geez.
Just tell us if you're at Playboy Mansion.
Yeah. I was there a couple times.
With the monkeys?
Yeah, no, I did see the monkeys, yes. But yeah, so what ended up happening was, fast forward to Kevin is still doing radio where he's doing, and then eventually he tried his, he really wanted to move back to LA. And so he did, but before that, we're talking 2016, 2017, when Musical.ly, as we were talking about, I just called him one day and I was like, look, I have this idea. It sounds kind of weird, but like, people are bored out of their mind, man. Yeah. Everyone's on their phone. You go to any corner of any street, people are just on their phone. People want something to do. I was like, what if we just do a thing called board games, just BRED. We do a man on the street style, because that's Kevin's like, he's perfect for it. And I was like, we'll just cheer people's board and give them prizes. Pretty simple. And we were talking I got literally 2016 to 2017, got all the domains, board game show across the board, made a fake logo, it was just really simple stuff. And we sat on it. And the reason we sat on it, because, we were talking about, should we do a sizzle, whatever, TV show, what are we going to do? Problem is, neither one of us, as much as we've met people over the years where we never had enough pull to get a TV show going.
Sure.
And that is, by the way, the hardest part about being out here is like, you're always kind of hoping somebody like takes enough interest in you, they want to help you.
Yeah.
And it's not like that. You just have to kind of do. That's it. Like, that's the only thing I've ever learned. You have to just do it. And then hopefully, like what you guys are doing right now, we're right now in a hotel room. If you guys really want this and you're like, we're just going to keep doing it because we like doing it, and you're not doing it for any other reason other than like, we believe in this. Maybe something happens. Maybe it doesn't, but at least you did it.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening is years passed by, and I wrote a movie that I still am desperate to do. It's a summer camp movie called Legends of Summer. I really want to make this movie. It's exactly the way I described before. It's a drama, but it's also got comedy in it. It's not your average summer camp movie. And I really want something like that to exist in the world. So I'm making this in 2020 and during the pandemic. I had this idea in variations over the years. I finally finished it. I pitched it for a couple years, and I'm still in the way of pitching. But I got to a point where I was like, well, no one's biting, no production, nothing's happening. So I called Kevin up. I'm like, look, I gotta dig my teeth into something. Why don't we just finally do board games? He's like, great, let's do it. Like, there wasn't even a question. He's like, yeah, let's go. Because Kevin's whole thing has always been like, he'll dedicate his time to it. He always told me, which I've always been very grateful for, don't tell him this.
We'll bleep it out.
But no, it's just like, if it's something to do, something that I'm passionate about, I say, let's go. He'll do it. And he's pretty cool about that. He's like, yeah, he believes in what I do, editing wise, directing, producing. Even though he gives me a lot of shit, I think overall, like, we have a good.
We
have a good relationship
really
in that regard.
It's cool to see, like, when we're out there on the street, you can tell Kevin is kind of like the.
He's a creative force. Dude.
Yeah.
But also when you would give, hey, stand over there. Okay, you got it. Like, he's not
questioning anything you say.
Yeah.
No. Well, sometimes he should, I guess. But it's literally like an actor-director situation where it's like, look, I know what he does. I don't even, sometimes we write some games down ahead of time. A lot of times it's just like, all right, Kev, you're just going to do what you do. And if I see an opportunity that I need something, I'll tell you. Like, hey, make sure that person does. Like, you'll see an episode coming up of a guy who sings songs is like,
Ozempic.
What?
Ozempic,
yeah. So, but it was just like, we saw an opportunity to like get this guy going. Kevin was trying to do it. The guy wasn't doing it. So it's like, everyone's, I saw, we have a good rapport in that way, is that we know what we both want, which is
good
we want to
content.
make as good content as possible. So anyway, yeah. So
so as an editor, when I first started out and I was doing YouTube, I loved editing because it was like the art, and I could evoke emotion in people that were watching it, and that it was so fun. But as I've grown into it and it's like a job and I'm editing for other people, it's kind of just become like this thing of, yes, it's still fun, but also I'm just trying to push out everybody's content and just be as efficient as possible while making money. Have you kind of dealt with that? Like, the beginning, it was kind of like the honeymoon stage, and then after a while you're kind of like,
oh god, here we go again.
it's a job now, and you know what I mean?
no, 1,000%.
Yeah.
Of course. Well, that's with anything creative, right?
Right.
You got to get paid. You got if and you have a kid, I've got kids. You got to make money.
Yep.
So there's a part of me that knows that, like, look, I could do a lot of jobs, and I've done different jobs before filming, and not many, but like, I couldn't imagine myself doing anything else.
Right.
So it's kind of like, well, yeah, on a bad, boring day, I can tell my wife this, I'm work, some client comes in, I do something for them, I'm like, I'm bored out of my goddamn mind right now.
Yep.
But it's like, you just do it.
You gotta make
if
money,
you
right?
if you're fast, I don't know how fast you are, but if you're fast, it helps, because then you're just like, okay, we did it. But again, when I say fast, I don't mean bad. I mean like
Efficient.
because the thing is, if you do it long enough, you get pretty good at it, and if you have a good eye and a good feeling for it, people always say it's taste.
Yeah.
So, yes, I do understand the pain, and I think the one thing
Monotony.
but that's why you have a podcast like this,
Yeah.
or I have board games where I know that, yes, it is a grind. Like, I'm literally editing every night. Let me tell you my schedule. Seriously, I wake up 6-ish, take care of the kids in the morning, work, regular work, 9 to 5,
Yep.
9 to 6. Take care of the kids between 6, 8:30. work from 8:30 to midnight every day. This is my schedule every day. And board games, once in a while, I'll sneak in a game, an edit in the middle of the day. COVID helped a lot with that, honestly, working from home, not having to go to an office. But, you know, most of the time you're working for pay. But, like, you have to believe in what you're doing. You have to believe in what you're doing.
Down the line, I mean, board games is consistently growing. Where are you going to...
I would like, what's the angle? Like,
yeah, like you're consistently growing. Like,
where do you want to see
for
it?
the show itself? Okay,
Yeah.
I'll tell you like goal for board games and goal for just overall about where in that space. I message this a lot of times in the comments. I want this show to be an international show and not a licensed international show yet. I want us to travel.
Yeah.
I want it to be not just like, oh, we're in Paris. I want to go to like that podunk place in like Oklahoma. We go on somebody's like porch. Hey, are you bored? Like I want to be
random.
in the most. Yes, yeah. And honestly, I really want the fans to dictate that in fun ways.
Oh.
I would love like we have one
like a
guy.
poll or...
There's gonna be a shout out. I think his name's Alex. He's in North Carolina, I want to say. This dude messages all the time, comments all the time. He says he's bored as F every time. He said, come to Charlotte. And I keep on telling him, and I'm serious about
Pay
this.
for our flight.
And just so you know, when you were messaging me. Kevin once in a while will chime in. It's usually me. I want so badly to fulfill all of your wishes because the truth is I want to.
Yeah.
I want to so badly. And to be completely frank, the money we gave you guys to come out here, that was mostly out of my pocket or Kevin, our pocket because, our shirts, we make a little bit. Like, really, it's just about brand
Solid
awareness.
shirts, by the way.
There you go.
Yeah.
XXXX. On the back, it's all of some of the best quotes. Schmedium.
Yeah.
Well, they do run small, everybody. But, I think it's really important that, like we were saying, is that I keep on striving. Kevin keeps on striving. We want to get to that platform. Problem is, and we'll talk a little bit about TikTok algorithm in a second because I think that's very important and just platforms in general.
Yeah.
Which is a very tough game because you're at their mercy.
Always changes.
It does.
Yeah.
But overall, what I would love to do, especially in the just online space, because this, again, like I said, I've been never able to get a network to just be like, yeah, we're going to take you. And I'm not saying that can't happen. It can't happen with, I've heard people say you should do it with board games. Problem is when you lose that control, it's really tough. Because then, say you go for a year on X network, whatever that is, and then all of a sudden they're like, yeah, we're done. And then like you can't do anything with it.
And then they also have creative control. Like what if they don't like a segment that is funny, but they're like, well, no, that company that you jokingly mentioned is a sponsor of our...
Happens all the time.
Yeah.
And I've had that happen. Myself and Kevin have done different things where we've had that exact problem.
Yep.
Due to woke things, due to politics, due to whatever the case is, it happens a lot.
Yeah.
But anyway, what I would love to do, if I had my real choice, and this is outside of film, because I do really still want to make films, but in this space... I would love board games to be one out of like a conglomerate of a bunch of shows. I would love Kevin to be the host on a number of things, but Kevin and I we've pitched so many different shows. We had a show that today would go bonkers online, but no one would touch. We had a show called Stereotypes where we pitched. It was the greatest sizzle you've ever seen.
Yeah.
It was amazing. You just go up on the street and you ask people stereotypes and see, and then we try. It's Mythbusters, but with stereotypes. And you like, can Asians drive? Like
trying to get canceled as soon as possible.
Yeah. But here's the thing. It should it's so stupid because everyone jokes with it. Right?
Yeah.
Like an Asian guy literally said to us, Asians can't drive. It's like, we didn't say this. This guy said this. And like they're I have no problem with the Asian community.
No.
But the idea is
his wife's Asian.
No, she'll tell you first.
Sorry.
No, but
it's the idea again. It's not. This is the world.
Stop Asian hate.
Stop Asian hate. The problem I have with the world sometimes now, especially, is like, well, you can't take a joke. Like
it's serious.
It's just we're just joking. Like clearly, I have no problem with anybody. I love everybody, but it's just a matter of when you have things that clearly people want to joke about.
Yes.
Why can't we just joke about it?
I think
stereotypes should be huge online.
People are so hungry for. That's why people love stand up. Like as of recent, it's blowing up because that's
the
last.
You can
You could tweak it that
Yeah,
way.
you
the
can-
last form of like
Edgy
freedom and
yeah.
like I don't know.
Because I think that most people, it's still relatable. People
Yeah.
still talk about it. People still experience it. So anyway, I would love to, whether, the stuff that I built with Kevin, I would love to do more of that. We had a game show. It wasn't a game show. It was something Kevin came up with called Man versus Machine. The whole idea is you take things like, we keep on talking about AI or different things taking over. And so we had we did a sizzle with the Apple HomePod. It's just like a speaker.
Oh, okay.
And we just saw Man versus Machine. What can it do that Kevin can't? What can Kevin do that it can't? And it was just like ridiculous. And we did like sketches. We did a spelling. We did a spelling. What should we call it? A
Spelling bee?
A spelling. We did a spelling bee between Kevin and essentially Siri. Off of the thing, and I played the judge. And it was just like we went right into a sketch. It would be amazing, and I think that we need, as they always say, you need one thing to hit. Like, for example, if you guys want to do a bunch of podcasts and produce a bunch of them, if this one doesn't hit, or the one pilot, it's hard to keep building on. So you need one to start. And this was I still really believe in the show. It's, back to the TikTok thing. We were going pretty fast on TikTok, and then it slowed down dramatically.
Yeah.
And it's our goal right now is we need sponsors. You need
to have better prizes or
everything from that to just paying us to do it, because I'm doing everything free.
Yeah.
I'm losing money, in fact.
Yeah.
So whenever you watch our show, you'll see that some of our prizes are goofy, but realize even
Not
us
this
getting
prize.
that, yeah, this wasn't free.
Yeah.
And I could have gotten some used and some in the back. No, I made sure I got that.
It's a nice hat.
From Lids. Anyone know Lids?
that's
LIDZ. Yeah.
So it was just very, we're grinding every day to make it work because we really do believe in it. It's just
You're at the mercy.
we are the mercy of algorithms. We are at the mercy of just it could be anything.
Yeah.
But we're, as you know, and you've been an early adopter. There's something there, and the fact that you're here is a testament to that. And it's also really cool the fact that we're doing this right now.
Well,
and
even when we were in In-N-Out, one of the people behind the counter was like, "Oh, that's the board games guys."
no,
Yeah.
What?
You didn't hear
I
that?
didn't hear
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out.
guy at the window that was doing the drive-through was talking to a coworker, and he goes, "That's the board games guys or guy or whatever."
Probably not what
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean, to be fair, I had the huge board game sign, so they could be like,
They're
"Oh,
just talking
that's
about you.
Yeah, I know, but they recognized, and yeah.
That's so funny. We've just started getting a few people recognized. In fact, Kevin called me. He was in Santa Monica. He was doing ice skating or something with his kid, and he needed to pay for something extra. I don't know what it was. I wasn't there. He just called me and told me this. And he's like, the guy was like, "Oh, wait a second. You're the board games guy." And
Yeah.
Kevin's used to getting people to say,
Radio.
"Hey, I'm from K-Rock," or maybe I saw you on Shark Tank, because he was on Shark Tank.
Oh.
He has a side company called Pie Wine.
Pie Wine, okay.
Pie Wine, where it's canned wine specifically to pair with pizza.
God, I fucking love wine too.
Dude, you should
love
have
that.
talked to him about that. But it's it's really good, and he was on Shark Tank. They didn't get a deal, but got good publicity, and Kevin did it awesome.
yeah.
He did a great job. But anyway, so he usually gets noticed for those things. So then when he called me up. He's like, "You should just know that I got something free from for being on this show." And I said to him, I was like, "Kevin." And he also mentioned that earlier that day he got noticed for his radio show. And I said, "Well, which one did you get the free item in?"
Yeah,
and he
which
goes,
did you benefit
"Board
from?"
games." And I said, "That's correct. Thank you."
That's funny.
I rest my case. So yeah, I mean, look, for Kevin, as I mentioned that the whole Goodwill Hunting, I really, of course, I want this, for myself as much as for anybody who was a part of this show. I really want it for Kevin. Really, at the end of the day, I know it sounds funny, but it's like that dude's so talented. The fact that he's not a Jimmy Kimmel, that he's not massive,
Big fish in a small pond.
but
kind of.
he's got it. And anybody who watches that show, they'll know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
hopefully, the show does well. We'll see.
I think we've been going for a while.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
I'm sorry.
No.
I love it.
I was gonna
It's all
just.
good.
Should we just finish up? I only have like 2 more questions. The last one, and then also.
Yeah, one more. Do that one.
There's one more before that, but
Come on, Jake.
oh, do you have a job offer for me? Anywhere in LA?
As what?
Editor.
Editor. I can fetch aspirin and
Do you actually want to move here?
I don't know. I mean, I'm
You want
just
to do
being
remote work?
jokingly, but also like
Not-
just throwing a fishing line
here's-
out there.
here-
Anything.
I'm going to just tell you
Yeah.
the sad truth about the way I feel about LA, and this is
I need it.
it's
I'm
true.
Here.
People, I remember when I first moved out. Before I moved out, I sent emails to people. I'm like, hey, by the way, if you have a job offer, I'll come out and I'll move.
Yeah.
And no one responded back. And I was like thinking, what assholes? Like,
Yeah.
They're not going to respond to me. Truth is, everybody who makes the leap, I think, not everybody, but most people feel the same way. I think where it's, you want this, and if the answer is yes,
Prove it.
you move out here.
Yeah.
Then we'll talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, that doesn't do anything. It's just the idea of like, how bad do you want it
Yeah.
out here? Now, granted, times have changed. Might not even need to. There's remote work, and I'm happy to. We could definitely discuss.
No, and I don't want to put that. But I was just,
No. But I'm being serious
Yeah.
in the sense of if there's something where I'm like, hey, there's some work. I know you now, so I mean, I don't know your work. I probably have to take that look at that. I mean, you could be a horrible editor. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's pretty shitty.
It's
now.
pretty shitty. But like, it is that idea that sure, like, I really am. I'm a pretty loyal dude to my friends. If there's somebody who's like, I need some work, and I'm, it's not for me, or the costs don't work, whatever doesn't match up. Of course, I can. 100. You're in the Rolodex now. That's
Cool.
That's good to know. If that's something you want, but in terms of the LA thing, like you want to be really involved here, I always recommend. And like I said, times have changed, but
You got to move.
you got to
out here.
move.
boots on the ground. Yeah.
I think I had a friend tell me that once. He was just like, before I moved out, he's like, well, do you want to be close to where it's at? And if this is really what you want to do, that's probably what you want to do. You want to be in politics? Probably want to be in Washington.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, total side note was when we do the forced proposals.
Yeah. Oh, brutal.
That is the most awkward for me because they look to me and they want to know, what am I supposed to do now? I don't say a word.
Nothing.
I just
Yeah.
stare at them.
Nothing.
Because my thought, the whole idea was,
You got to make it
what
awkward.
would you do? If right now, if you and your girl, I meet you and you get a ring, what do you do? It's a perfect opportunity to propose.
Yeah.
But it's also like it's a great story.
then the girl thinks like, oh, you set this up. For
yeah,
me?
yeah. But
Fuck.
But yeah, it is. That was the toughest thing to just keep a straight face because I'm just like,
It's brutal.
do something.
Fucking brutal.
But yeah, there's some weird awkward moments that we came in with today. The mistletoe was good.
That Ozempic
mistletoe-
guy was.
And then you put it over.
Yeah. I was like, oh man,
Ah.
it's so good. Okay, last question. Also, just thanks for doing all this.
Yeah,
You've been
thanks for having us out.
Thank you for having us.
Hospitality
Yeah.
and-
Thanks for trying to help
So
promote
kind.
this. Of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah. Thanks for helping us be on the podcast. Yeah.
Okay, how do you want to be remembered when you're gone?
Oh fuck. Are you talking about when I'm gone from this hotel room after you killed me? Or?
Yeah. How do you want your body to be disposed?
Yeah, it's like a traditional burial, I guess.
No, just I don't know. Just in general, how do you want to be remembered? Your legacy
It's a tough one.
doesn't have to be crazy deep, but just
Nah,
I don't know.
Well, look, I think about. I don't want to tangent this too bad, but
No, whatever.
I had a friend in high school one time tell me, in life, you're gonna have the choice. You're either gonna be really good at what you do for work, or you're gonna be a really good family guy, and you're gonna have to choose that. And every day, literally, I think about that quote every day
good quote.
because I think about it. I've been fighting that so hard that I want to be both, and so I would say if I had my choice more than anything is to be remembered as a good dad. And I try to be a good husband too, of course. But when you got kids, as you know, it's like you are everything to them.
Yeah.
And so it's like if you upset your kids, that's the worst feeling in the world. I want to be remembered as a good dad. But yeah, I mean, and of course, like I said, as a good husband too. But I think it's really important for me still to dream, and I'm still dreaming every day. Like I haven't hit what I want.
Yeah.
And would it be awesome to be known as the guy who created shows or created movies or made really amazing. I mean, board games is a game show, but it's in a way I also look at it as it's art. If you look at TikTok, if you look at Instagram, people doing weird shit. But like, I've always felt like when I made board games with Kevin, I was like, look, my vision for this is I want someone to drop like look at it and go, what is this? And if you have to do that, that is hard because you're like, wait, this isn't normal. This isn't just like I'm just living. It's like, wait a second. They have a board, but it looks cheap, but they have it organized, but the guy can't talk. He's in a suit. Like, what's happening?
Yeah.
There's something cool about that. The original plan, oh, by the way, I know I'm tangenting, but there is the original plan for this. I wanted to have the biggest, literally, this is how my dream was. I wanted 2 guys in suits like Men in Black.
Yep.
Holding a huge cardboard box where it would fold. It would be like something you'd tuck under and then unfold and then have a spinning wheel. Like that's what I had in my mind. Like create weird. Like you'd have to cross the street and people be tugging. It'd be so heavy. That's kind of what I imagined.
What the fuck? How did you think of that?
Because I was just like, it would be so cool to make it like, you know,
ridiculous.
when you watch Price is Right or any of these game shows, huge set pieces. But can you imagine if it's like you don't think
On
it's a
the
set piece,
street?
and then all of a sudden it's a big set piece.
That's
We might
hilarious.
get there someday. But still, like the idea of if you can think that way and create that kind of stuff, I would love to be remembered as a guy who took things to another level and was able to do it. It's just, but right now, if I died today, I probably would just be remembered as the good dad. I hope.
It's legendary.
Yeah, that's a great answer.
A lot of people can't say that about their dads.
Oh,
That's huge.
my dad and I we were best friends. So like, and he died when I was 23, and I always whenever I see kids, do both of you still have your parents?
No,
I
my
do-
dad
I do.
died when I was 22.
Yeah, dude,
Yeah.
young.
Yeah.
Were you good? Were you close with him?
Yes. So like my parents, this is kind of a tangent, but my parents got divorced when I was like 3. I would see him, every other weekend. He had issues with drugs and alcohol, but great dad though. Like just, he had his struggles. And then my mom and dad got back together when I was 18.
Oh wow,
19?
What a gap.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was he like clean at that point?
No, but but when you're single, you go hard. But when you're with someone you love, that's kind of the new drug. So like he went less hard, and but he ended up having.
Is that a pun?
Yeah, he ended up having some complications and other issues, and ended up passing away. But it was cool though to like be in back together as a family.
Dude, that sounds awesome.
Yeah. It was cool.
But yeah, what I was saying is that when your parents die younger, or younger and you're young, dude, that hits home. So whenever I see people with their parents still around, they get to hang out with their dad or mom.
Yeah.
It would have been like, man, I always think about that because he never get to meet his grandkids.
Yeah.
I was like, that would have been something special. But I tell my kids all the time, this is how it was with me and my dad. My dad and I were very, very tight. So it's very much like if I could do even a sliver of what he did for me, I've done my job.
Yeah.
That's
That's
awesome.
it.
That's really cool.
What do most people say on this show?
Just
What do you guys say?
I don't know
never
if
get asked that.
Yeah,
Oh,
we
we
never-
you're being
ask
asked.
it.
You're being asked.
go ahead.
Kind of similar to you. I want to be remembered as a great father, someone that's creative and did good to other people, loyal, respectable.
Yeah, that's a good answer, Jake.
Sponsored by Kleenex.
Yeah.
No, I mean when I think about that question, because we ask it all the time, I think I just want to be remembered as someone that was always there to help people, whether it was in business, whether it was helping them get into a house. I just want to be a helpful guy and help people, be happy.
Why don't you be like the Honda guys? That's what this podcast should be. It's just like another helpful tip or helpful thing from these guys. Maybe your whole podcast is at the end of everything you do something to help somebody. By the way,
That's
I will say this. That was another thing about board games that I
Cut
would say.
that out. Make it our own idea.
No, go ahead. It's yours.
Just thought of this.
It's yours. I'm helping you too. But no, it's true though. That was one thing I always wanted to do in terms of game shows or movies or anything. I always wanted to be a positive. Like I don't like just things that don't matter.
Yeah.
If somebody I thought board games it's goofy, but we made people's days better today. I
Oh,
guarantee
yeah.
you today.
Oh, yeah.
People are like, I remember that
And the
time.
people that watch.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
We're curing their boredom and making them happier.
Just
But-
think about everyone we talked to today is they're gonna go back, because we talked to a lot of college students. They're gonna
Yeah.
go back to their roommates and be like, guys, you're never gonna believe what
happened
the
to
fuck
me
just
today?"
happened
Yeah.
to me.
That's exactly true. But we've made somebody's now they just had a good experience. So I think that you could make that if that's really your collective mission.
It is, yeah. I just
Yeah.
want to help
You
people.
should be like, look, find people, and then other than that, obviously, what's cool is you have promote. For example, we have our little coin connections. That's like the one good, our solid contact that like keeps on giving us prizes. Maybe you can find those people and be like, hey, I'm going to help out this company that I want to help out. Or maybe you haven't. I don't know. Maybe you have a real estate agent friend in a different city or something.
I feel like we have a ton of connections that we don't
addicts?
utilize.
You should.
What?
Addicts?
Addicts?
I feel like we could get like addicts on and be like, yo, what,
I don't
like,
wanna,
talk
like,
about your
how are you gonna
story.
help
How
them?
did
Yeah, I
you
don't
get
wanna
through it? And,
exploit
like,
them.
But clinically, I don't know if you can help these people.
that's
Yeah.
a good point.
But I'm saying,
you can't cure it.
unless you're like, we have a bunch of cocaine. We're gonna
Yeah, you're gonna have
Cocaine
a great
here.
we're gonna
weekend.
staring contest. Go.
Yeah.
I
Who can talk the longest?
go.
Yeah.
But I think that it is very important that you got. Like I said, I think that's an awesome thing. If that is what you both feel that you want to do, is help people. People remember you for that. You can make that happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even think about it. What do you have? A couple hundred right now. Followers by the time this airs will be a
Between
couple. Little more?
TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, 300 maybe.
Yeah.
Our views get more than our.
We get like 5,000 views on clips and stuff. pretty
Yeah.
Consistently.
I've had a couple of shows very similar in vein of what I want to do, which is exactly that. Is just help people through different ways. But again, if it's through humor or if it's like you said, maybe you have connections. Maybe you hook people up. Here's a plumber. Here's somebody who needs it. You bring them both on the show. They get a free consultation because they went on your show.
That'd be a good
That's
idea.
pretty cool.
Guys, we could do this all day.
Yeah.
But
Just
I'm
brainstorm with Mark.
Yeah. No, I think that it's a noble thing, and people do. If they're not laughing, people want to feel good.
Right.
Especially now, dude.
Oh,
My TikTok
dude, yeah.
algorithm, like board games. Here's the board games algorithm that is fed to me as I'm flowing through. That's not board games related. It is a brutal, disgusting world
Yeah.
with all these wars and
Oh,
all this
yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
bro. You just
Oh.
start sliding, and you're just like,
Dude.
man, the world
Sucks.
But here's the thing: I don't think most people are like that. If you get people
No.
in the same room
Yeah.
in a weird hotel,
Dude.
they become friends.
Catch me on like a Saturday night just watching like soldiers coming home to their dogs. Adults.
It is so funny.
Adults, like kids seeing their mom or dads like at their play, and they see him in the audience, and they're like, and you're just like,
If anybody ever wants to know,
Fuck.
this is what I tell my wife. It's funny you said that. If you ever want to watch me cry, I mean, I don't
Oh,
cry.
dude.
I don't cry at funerals. You put me in front of soldiers coming home.
gets me every
Dude.
time.
I die.
Just a
I
heart
die.
boner.
I remember being at work on a slow day, and I remember just people walking.
Yeah.
It's rough.
Nothing. No what?
In the
You watch
Playboy
these little kids-
Mansion.
Yeah. Stop.
Playmates.
Put your clothes back on. Oh. But and that was just a half. But it was just like such a. It is so touching because especially with kids, because I always that's what I was saying. It's like you always look at them and you go, especially with all the stuff that's going on in war and stuff, like any kid who gets hurt, I just go to myself, man, like they did nothing. They're just kids.
Yeah.
And so like your father goes away or your mom goes away to the war, comes back, and they're just like so desperate for like any attention.
Connection.
That's why it's like have you gone on vacation away from your kid yet? Not once yet. I bet.
This
He's
is.
only
I mean,
two.
well, vacation.
This is it. I did it. Your kid's gonna be so happy to see you when you get back.
You'd think, right? But he's a golden retriever.
Oh really?
Yeah, he's like. I
He's
mean,
the happiest, cutest kid I've ever met.
Yeah, I don't know
Like,
what happened. How, but yeah, he's just happy to be anywhere with anybody. But I'm sure he misses me. But yeah, he's just
You
the
watch.
best.
Let's put a bet down. Here we go.
How much you want to put? I'll put a good amount down.
Well, he'll like when I get home, he's like Dada, but I
Dude,
bet it won't be the same Dada as when I.
He's FaceTiming his kid last night on our way back. We're in Malibu. And Felix is like, Dada.
Oh
Dada.
my
Like,
God.
dude, that dude misses you.
That's adorable.
Yeah, he
He's like
misses
the
you.
best kid too. I don't know what.
Funny thing is,
weird.
he was actually looking at Brady at that time.
Yeah.
It wasn't even
Dada?
didn't even know it was his father.
Weirdly similar eyes. I don't know.
Well, and then on my side, like, my cat just pisses on the counter when I'm
Yeah.
gone. So.
On FaceTime.
Yeah.
On FaceTime.
With eye contact, asserting dominance.
Fucking separation anxiety
But
cat.
I think what you just said was awesome. I'm surprised nobody has ever asked you that
What?
on your show of what
Right?
your thing. I'm curious, what do other people say?
A lot of people say, like, I just want to be known as, like, a happy person.
But they don't want to talk
Yeah.
about their families. They don't care about that shit.
No, I think
Well, it just depends on who we have on.
they do. A lot of them are like younger and don't have
Oh, I
families.
see.
But like also like
the people.
A lot of people don't reflect on that because you're what? How old are you? 38? Yeah. So it's like a lot of people we have on. It's not something you just think about in passing often. A lot of people are just on autopilot and just do the day-to-day mundane stuff and don't think
big
too
picture,
deep
like,
below surface level.
It's interesting. I mean, if you watch our show, what usually happens is when people say, "What do you want more than anything in the world?" Everybody says money.
Yeah.
Do you know how much that drives me crazy editing
That's what
it?
I said.
It drives me crazy every time. And
I
I'm
thought
not,
that's what we were
and look, I
supposed
don't
to
hate
say.
on people. Like, look, everybody needs money. I get it. And like, when they see a prize box, that's what they expect. But it's just like a vacation for my wife and I. Like that would mean like, oh, I want to do something.
Maybe
that
they
has
want
meaning
the money to do
to
that.
do something. Exactly.
But yeah, I mean,
but that's different. Like what I'm saying is, you go on a game show. Like, yeah, it's great to win money, but like if you could say that I went on the game show and I won, I don't know. There's value to it. That's all I'm saying.
Well, and I was telling my coworker, maybe it was someone, where I was like, I wanted to make more money, so I made more money because I thought that's why I was stressed and I was a little depressed or whatever, and so I made more money, but I was still the same, and I was like, oh, it's obviously not in the scale of actors and celebrities, but it's it's not the cure-all to your problems.
Do you ever hear that amazing? I'm going to butcher this anecdote, but it was there's this guy on an island. He's just chilling on an island, super poor, just sitting on there. And some guy comes up to him. He's like, "Look, you have bananas there." He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Why don't you sell those bananas?" And he's like, "Well, why would I do that?" And he's like, "Well, you can get a whole banana store, and then you can sell more bananas." And he's like, "Oh, what am I going to do that?" "Well, then you can make enough money that you can go and then make more banana stores and whatever." And then he's like, "Well, why would I do that?" "So then you can sell so many bananas that you don't ever have to work again." And then and he's like, "Where would I live?" "Well, you live right here."
Yeah, you literally don't have to do any of that to do what you're doing right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I
think it's all gratitude and. Anyways.
I think, I think you guys are onto something. I hope you guys are. I'm happy. A phone call away, and you can actually take my real number, not just on Instagram. But
I didn't want to bother you with that because he asked me, he's like, "Do you guys just talk over Instagram?" I'm like,
you
yeah.
can 1,000%
I feel like I
take my
just miss
phone.
DMs all the time.
Now that I know that time can
We haven't
still,
murdered you yet.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see what actually happens.
Yeah.
But no, you guys can hit me up anytime. I mean,
Appreciate that.
you're friends of the show now. You are the guy. You are the guys who made
Came
it.
from Minnesota.
You did it.
Started from the bottom.
Was it worth it?
Now we here.
Yeah.
Now,
pretty awesome.
now when you guys get bigger,
Core
we'll have
memory.
to come out again and do it again. And
I want to come out to you.
You don't want to come.
You don't want to
I
come.
do. I'm a Midwest guy. Of
I'd
course I do.
rather.
Oh yeah, he probably does want to come.
I mean, you
Not
can.
go to winter.
No, no, no.
We'll go to Orok.
Rock would be cool.
Yeah.
I'd rather be like, you invite us out again, and that way I'd be like, babe,
I gotta
have to go.
We can make up a fake account.
Best
I'm
are
doing this for us.
we invite Jake's fiance only. Listen,
I'm stuck at home. FaceTiming.
Gene's like, Jake,
Yeah.
I have to go.
Yeah, yeah. Like, oh, you fucker.
we got something, guys.
You'll bring, and then my girlfriend, we'll just completely
get-
swap.
They're playing chess. We're playing checkers.
Yeah.
All
Where
right.
can people find you?
Everywhere.
Board games at Board Games Show. Myself, you could just find me at mine, Mark Morgan Official, MARC Morgan Official. I also have my personal TikTok. We didn't get into that,
I
but
don't know if you want.
it's
Yeah.
MARCKY MORG Morg. Before I did, the reason we even started on TikTok is because a casting director friend of mine told me, he's like, you should be on TikTok, and I was like, I'm old. No one gives a shit about me.
That's right.
And he's like, no, go on this thing. So I made it, and my biggest thing was doing movie pitches. I would come up with just movie pitches and make a fun pitch for it out of things I would like to watch, sequels that I think were worth it, and I got good virality on it. But and then I kind of stopped because I was like, well, it wasn't really doing much for me. It was kind of self-serving in a lot of ways because it was just me. I was much happier having Kevin be the guy,
Yeah.
and me just producing the thing.
Yeah. Cool.
Funny. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yes, thank
Mark,
you.
this is awesome.
This is awesome.
Super cool.
Yeah.
We hope that the next time we talk, if we have to do this again,
We might be in a
our
studio.
numbers will be a lot
Hopefully,
higher, and
yeah.
we'll have lots of sponsors going.
Yeah, that'd be
better
sweet.
studio.
No,
than
this
this.
is.
This is cool.
I just woke up some people.
It's
having-
good enough,
having
yeah.
Relations.
Like, comment, subscribe. See you next time.